We'll go through this course with a few subtopics. We'll first have an introduction about time value and management. Then we will try to understand the time factor. We will see a few facts. Then we get to analyze some of the patterns. It is good to have some analysis. How we can manage the progress of time. We will look into saving time because that is the most valuable investment in the life. To do this, we will go through the management of progress of time so that we can save some time. We will also look into why we should appreciate our own success of time management because that is important to keep us on track. Did you know that all the time is in your control? Well, all the time in your life is supposed to be under your control. Once you decide to do something and someone or something makes you do something, you are utilizing your time. Please note carefully that you are using your time. Someone else cannot use your time, but they can waste your time. The same thing goes and the other way around as well. You can use your time to waste someone else's time, but not use their time. So the choice is up to you about what you're going to do with your time. It's really you who choose to do something and not to do something else. The bitter part is that even if you don't decide to do something, time still goes. It is like a car that is running up and down from your place to another place, and you have to pay the rent even if you don't travel in it. So, the most you use the time, you earn something out of it. When you don't do the best, then your return of investment for time is less. When you haven't decided to do something, your return of investment is very low, but the investment is still there because your time goes. For many people, they are unable to do a few things they want to do because they don't have the time to do those things. Well, don't pretend so. You will all have all the time in your life. It is just you that you don't want to do that thing now. You have either planned to do it later or haven't planned it at all. Instead, you are giving priority to other work and then start feeling that you don't have time for this activity. When you simply don't allocate time for that thing that you say that you have no time to do. If you take control of all your time, then you'll be able to do the things you wanted to do. Can you list out a few things that you wanted to do but had no time to do? You can pause the course and write those down. Take your time and return to the course only when you have listed all the things you missed because you don't have enough time. I mean, you didn't have enough time. Okay, having got your list, you would notice how many things you missed due to the lack of time. Really? Is it the lack of time? Let's have a look. It all begins with task management. When you try to manage your tasks and you are not 100% successful, you end up with piling tasks. Your tasks pile up so that you don't complete them on time, and this leads to the pending tasks. You get more tasks and that are pending, and this keeps on happening in a cycle, and we think that the reason is the lack of time. There are two things that can lead to the lack of time and mismanagement of tasks. One is the miscalculation of task time. If you have estimated to run a 32-kilometer marathon race in 20 minutes, then it's your mistake. You should have allocated enough time for that task. This is one of the reasons why your tasks get piled up and you end up with a lack of time. The other reason for the lack of time paradox is the unrealistic task allocation. You are simply taking over too much task that you cannot deliver on time. Say, for example, if you want to take 20 trips of 5 kilometers in a single day, you might be able to do it, but if you want to take 200 trips of 5 kilometers, then you might not be able to deliver those tasks. So plan your tasks and timing, and you can be back on time. Your piling tasks will disappear, and your pending tasks will not be pending anymore because eventually you can break out of the lack of time paradox and enter the back on time order. Now, can you look at that paper with your tasks that you had no time to do? Do you think you can do any of those anytime soon? Well, let's deal with those tasks before the end of this course. So, your miscalculation of time leads to unrealistic task allocation sometimes. And unrealistic task allocation sometimes leads back to the miscalculation of task time. But if you learned to manage your tasks better, then you're back on time. And then your lack of time disappears. Well, death has different phases. There are different causes, but death is certain. People don't plan to die, but uh, not many people plan to live as well because the death is the most certain aspect of the human life. It is not about doom and gloom, but it is about reality. Why do we need to manage our time in the first place? Because it's too valuable and we don't get it a second time. In other words, we are all going to die. That's why we should live the lives better. And that's why we are looking for time management because it's essentially the life management. Now, if you look at this table taken from Wikipedia, you might notice that everyone had a reason as to why they died. You and I might fit into one of those reasons one day. We just don't know it yet. Once you have started thinking like this, you will realize how uncertain life can become and how important it is to manage the time. But you can manage only the time you have available to you. So the first task is to understand the time available to you. Let's call it the net time available. So, yeah, I'm going to die. The fear of death is a powerful motivator to do things. Have you got your fear of death yet? Because death is real and certain for you. You're going to die for sure. You just don't know when. What about if you have 30 days to live? What would you do in those 30 days? What if you got an year? What if you got 20 years left? Hey, you still have that list of tasks that you didn't have time to complete? Pause the course and revisit that list. Come back when you are done. You know, remember these things. I'm going to die, so will you. Maybe not today. Okay, let's do a calculation to see how much time is left in your life and how much you use or waste. You have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours a day, and 365 days a year. But how many years have you left? That's different for different people. If you take a day in minutes, it's one for 40 minutes a day. That's all you have to spend. That's your investment every day. You will never have a second chance to use this time again. Seriously, it's just a one time offer. You miss it forever. That's the rule. You only got 144, 1 for 40 minutes every day. If you don't use just 5 minutes per day, or you can call the time wasted per day as well. If you wasted just 5 minutes per day for 5 days a week and for 50 weeks in a year for 5 years, how much time would you lose? Coast to coast. Do the math and come back. Well, that's equivalent of dying 4 days before you are supposed to die. You need to know how much you have in your wallet before spending. If not, you'll look stupid. You can spend anywhere from 240 minutes to 480 minutes for sleeping. That's 4 hours to 8 hours. You check what is required for your body. The biological clocks of different people are different. Your doctor might advise you otherwise, but you have to take into account how much time you spend or have to spend on each of these activities. Please write down on your notebook as to how much time you spend on each of these activities. How long do you sleep in a day? How long do you spend on washing, bathing, brushing, and dressing up? And how long do you spend on eating and drinking? And now deduct that from the 440 minutes available in a day. You will end up with how much time is left for you to do anything else. In that time, if you have a job, you'll have to spend 8 hours. Deduct that as well. After that, what you're left with is all what you have to do, anything you want. One of the differences between winners and losers is that the winners have enough time to develop themselves. Like you're taking this course to improve your time management. Losers don't have time. Whether they don't have time or they think they don't is a different chapter entirely. But winners have time to develop themselves. In talking about the available time, how much time do you have today? How much time do you have available the day before yesterday? It doesn't count. You might have had 2 hours yesterday to spend, but that is gone. You don't have the time today. All what you have is what you can spend today. Just today. How much time do you have spent on today? And how much time do you have to spend on today? One important thing to notice about the time available is that it seems like we have a lot of time to kill when we don't do much and don't plan much. As long as you get a lot of things on your to-do list, you will notice that the time isn't enough. The life as it seems to be is counted from childhood and looks longer. Once you are a teenager, you only have the adulthood left, which is much less than the entire life. And the adults, to be honest, we are at the tail end of the life, and it will end soon. To understand the time available much better, think of the things that you have done for the last time. Take your notebook and write down a few things that you have done for the last time. There might be things that you cannot do again, especially if it involves people that are not around anymore. Coast to coast, write down the things you did for the last time and then come back here. At a certain time in the past, I had met a person for the last time, and at another certain point in time, I did something I liked, but for the last time. Yet another time in the past, I was able to spend time with someone I care about. Now, at present, I did something for the last time as well, without my will and knowledge. Something else that I did today might have been done for the last time in my life if I don't get a chance to do it ever again in my life. Now, take a look at your notebook for the things you never had time to do, but you really wanted to do. Do you think that some of these things in that list could be done? Let's cover those later. We have been looking into and understanding the facts about the time. Let's have some more analysis on our time. You have a 24-hour day. Let's say you do something for 8 hours, something else for another 8 hours, one more thing in the balance 8 hours. Your day is gone. Now, if you can do all these in half the time, that is, if you do the 8 hour work in 4 hours, then you'll have half the day available to you to do more things. Let me break it down. All the time in the day is mine. That's clear to me. Only me who decides what to do. If I decide to work, spend time and do something for personal development, I can allocate the time already as I want to. Let me allocate the time for each of these tasks separately. Can you write down the time you take for these things daily? Can you write down them in minutes on your notebook, please? Travel, work, family, pets, learning, and practicing something. If you do something else on a regular basis, please jot it down, post the scores, and come back when you have done this task. When we assign tasks, we assign them at all, then we assign a few priorities and orders. If you are a person who does not plan everything or anything at all, then you will need to start with planning before learning to manage your time. Let's say we assume and assign 30 minutes to complete a task. I'm sure and know that I can only take 30 minutes to complete this task. The problem most people have with this is that they don't fix the start time. As soon as they start, they know they must finish, but they don't start. Why is that? Because it is not defined. There is a second type of time management where we do by starting a task whenever we deem is appropriate. We start it but not plan to start at the time. Once started, we complete the task in the estimated 30 minutes. We don't really care about when to start, but we complete it as we start. This kind of behavior can bring down our ability to plan the time. Just because we are able to do anything at any time, we feel too confident to do things and end up in pending tasks or piling tasks. Also, when we delay one task, we delay many tasks that must follow. Now, the third type of behavior is simply fixing a time to do the task and a time to start the task. Now it is 100% assured because you know the time needed to complete the task. You know when to begin, and so that you will begin at that time. And you will also complete on time. No pending task, no piling task. I'm not teaching you or coaching you how to manage these things yet. We are analyzing the patterns of time management in most people's lives. Well, what happens when you miss a task, no matter how you have planned it anyway? If you don't have a plan when to start, but have a list of things to do, then one of your tasks is enough to cause you a chronic pileup of tasks. You just didn't complete one task on time and become a late doer. You don't seem to follow deadlines, but you work hard and complete all your tasks. The problem is, even if you have completed everything, no one would see you as a successful person. This is because you haven't managed your time. You would think that you have done everything, but others would see you as never doing something on time. People would say, she's got the skills, but she won't do it on time. But we still don't fix times for everything because we're not given a deadline to life, or are we? The time is running out. That's the only reason why we need to manage the time. But how long do we have? What if you had 30 years left in your life? How do you do? How would your to-do list look like? Will you have a few things to do and a few more things to do as well because you have 30 years left? What happens if you get to know that you will die in just 3 years? Then your task list turns into priorities and unnecessary things. You will try to sort out the ones that you need to give priority and the ones you think are unnecessary. What happens if your time shrinks to just 3 months? What would you do in just 3 months? Your priorities are now only the urgent and important things because you only have 3 months left and don't have time to think about anything that is not urgent or important. Your time becomes so precious to you so that You don't let any minute of it go unused. You remember those two lists in your notebook. The one is with the things you wanted to do, but not because you didn't have time. The second list is the things that you did for the last time. Read through those lists again and get into the next section of this course where we will get into managing the time.